We are live.
Good morning. Welcome to Tuesday, Thursday, April, August. I'm Ben Rimalower, and this is my lovely co-host, Daniel Nolen.
Hey, y'all.
And you say it, Daniel.
Happy Tuesday. Live from New York. It's Tuesday morning.
Tuesday, Thursday, April, August.
Time heals everything. It's a song. And time heals everything.
It feels especially meaningful that Bernadette and Patty are both in our intro this morning.
This morning and every morning.
After the weekend we've had with them.
I mean, I was like, how do I talk about something that's not related to the Sondheim 90th birthday celebration on Broadway.com, Take Me to the World? But I was like, we have to move on. But I rewatched the whole thing. Actually, the whole thing except Patty and Bernadette.
Mm-hmm.
What actually finally got me out of my crazy Bernadette deep dive, just love that I've just been in.
Your day-long love.
It was really intense, but I did watch Patty on Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah, me too as well.
And she was so Patty in the best possible way.
So Patty in the same little jacket she was wearing on the Sondheim thing.
Yeah, she's no dummy. You're gonna blow that hair out twice.
Yeah, full hair and makeup in her kitchen. Just giving us everything we need. And everything. Not only
including singing Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries.
You what?
Including singing Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries.
Did I see that part? I don't know if I saw that. I just watched all the YouTube clips today. Maybe they didn't have them on there.
Oh, maybe not. Yeah, she sings Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries. It's fabulous.
It's up there on the YouTube.
I mean, so much to dissect.
What are the highlights, though, for you? I mean, besides Alyssa Edwards also joining at some point, which was just too much for me to have.
I was like, I think Alyssa knows who Patty is, so I think I'm good with this.
Yeah, I feel like Alyssa kind of knows who she is, just in a gay way, but she probably has never seen her on stage.
It was. I feel like Patty might have thought she was lip synca, but
Patty obviously didn't know who she was because she was just you look great.
Yeah, totally.
She wasn't oh my God, Alyssa.
No. It was not a good audition for Patty to be a guest judge on Drag Race. Wait, did you tell me Patty was on What's the Tea, or did I make that up?
No, she was not on What's the Tea, but they do have an episode that's deceptively titled Patty LuPone or something because they just talk about Patty and Michelle meeting Patty or something.
Yeah. They need to have her. I mean, this is a really big moment for Patty, I feel, right now. With Hollywood, she's getting so much press and
so much. The Daily Beast, New York Magazine.
She was the only guest on
New York
Live. I mean, and it's, it was her third time being on the show. Third time. And Andy loves her. He was so great with her. Yeah. They clearly are friends in real life because Andy's besties with John Benjamin Hickey,
yes,
whose partner is Patty's best friend in the whole world, Jeffrey Richman.
Oh, cool.
So they were we'll have a drink in Hickey's backyard, with Jeffrey. But it was great. I guess, I mean, the best part was probably her. I mean, people are talking the most, I guess, about the Glenn Close, John Hamm, Bar Centrale story.
Yeah.
I had actually heard her tell that before, and former podcast, Broken Records podcast guest Michael Jackson was posting about it because he's obsessed with Patty, but he takes a lot more issue with her than I do. But he was saying that he was questioning Patty's version of that story. But I will say that Patty told me that story when it happened, and it was exactly the same. I actually believe her telling of that. But how Glenn crashed the party. The one thing she hadn't told me was that she had said to John Hamm, "If you fuck Glenn, I'll never speak to you again."
Yeah, I wrote that. I wrote that down because I thought that was so funny.
So funny. But I guess my favorite was hearing her talk about the Barbara Gypsy.
Yes, I love that. She said, what did she say? She doesn't have the hunger.
Well, she said she didn't think she had the hunger, but she didn't know. But she said that, quote unquote, 50 years ago, Barbara would have been great in it.
50 years ago, which is like a long time. Like I would have said maybe like, 20 years ago, but
yeah, 35. But anyway, everybody should watch it. And
everyone should watch it.
I have to say, not to get bogged down in the Sondheim again, but I have a few things I need to correct about my previous statements from when we talked about it on the pod, having now rewatched the video.
Okay, yes, give it to me.
So the first thing is Melissa Errico.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, like, rewatching it, it's just a really, what's the word? Like, unimpeachable performance of children in art. I mean, it's just really, really good. I mean, I think, like, I have beef because I have like a bone to pick, not with Melissa Errico personally directly, but with the concept of Melissa Errico. Because when I was a young man early in spring, Ken Mandelbaum was like, there was two people that Ken Mandelbaum was pushing real hard on his readers in Show Music and Theater Week magazine, like myself. He was talking about Melissa Errico and Christine Ebersole. As far as he was concerned, they were the next Patti, Bernadette, etc. And he was really going long and hard on them. And at the time, Christine had left Broadway for years to work a lot in Hollywood. And now she was coming back to musical theater, and she was playing the Madeline Kahn role in the pre-Broadway musical Paper Moon, never came to New York, even though they had their marquee up at the Marquee Theater. And a few other things. And Melissa Errico starred in a revival of My Fair Lady in 1993. And it was a troubled production, I guess. I don't really remember all the details, but stuff went wrong. And I think including stuff with like her health or her voice. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but so there was trouble around it, and it didn't wind up being maybe like quite having the impact on like theater at large that Ken Mandelbaum would have had me believe in my young and tender impressionable age, but he sold her so hard. And I remember reading in her press, and she got a lot of press at that time. She starred in a TV series, people probably forget this, called Central Park South or Central Park West. It was her and John Barrowman.
Okay.
It was like a sexy young New York. It was like a flop, but it was like a big budget, TV series. And I remember in some of the press reading that she and Jason Robert Brown had grown up together on Long Island and gone to maybe Stage Door Manor together. And there'd been a production of Evita where she'd been Evita and he'd been Che. And I think part of the whole thing Ken Mandelbaum was saying about these girls was that they were sopranos and they were belters. And because I remember Christine Ebersole reading that she had played Evita in Stock and she had played Dot in Sunday in the Park with George. And I was just like, so here for it, there for it. Anyway, so I was like, Melissa Errico, the house down. And then I never really, had that experience of her. And like, I remember like seeing her when they did that Kennedy Center Sondheim Festival in 2002. And I've talked about this before, there was this like highlights concert in New York. And Barbara Cook and Raul Esparza and Melissa Errico had done Sunday in the Park at the Kennedy Center for that festival. And so they sang Move On. And I was like, ready for this. Give me that famous Evita with Jason Robert Brown belt that I've heard so much about. And it was not. It was like a soprano singing Move On who couldn't belt it. And I'm like, don't give me a soprano dot. Do not give me a soprano dot. The beauty of Bernadette in Sunday in the Park, or one of the beauties of Bernadette, is that it's like this sort of like, I don't want to say austere James Lapine musical, but it ain't gypsy. But Bernadette is gypsy. I mean, Bernadette's Dainty June, So, and that's part of the beautiful match of Bernadette and Sondheim. Thank you, Wilson Chin, friend of the pod. I didn't see High Society. But so I was like very anti that. And then there was like a Patti LuPone tribute, and Melissa Errico sang As Long As He Needs Me. And it sounded like a soprano singing As Long As He Needs Me. So like, I think a little bit when she was doing Color and Light, I was like, no more soprano dots. But the fact is, it's not Move On. It's not Color and Light. What did I say? Color and Light. Children and Art. Yeah, Children and Art. It's not Move On. It's Children and Art. So you don't really need somebody. It's not about being a belter. It's about telling the story, Yeah. And she did. And while she does not have, she's obviously not a belter in any kind of way that I'm there for. And I wouldn't even say she's got a soprano voice that I'm like gay for, like, we've discussed you know,
Barbara Kelly.
whoever. Yeah. But what she does have is like a very resonant, good voice, you know, and the kind of like reaching down into those like low alto non-belt notes that you have to do in Children in Art.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, it had that chestnut kind of oaky quality it was rich and it was beautiful. And aside from even the sort of aesthetic, like jerking off pleasures of it, she told the story. I mean, she sang that song, somebody who understands it and gets it. And I have to say, it truly is one of the, you know, things that made the Sondheim thing great. So I really eat my hat on Melissa Errico in that. It's one of my patented compliments buried in a sea of insults.
Right.
And then Elizabeth Stanley, I tried to go back and get into again because everybody was like so into it. Yeah. But I realized I still dislike it for the same reason I did before. I had just described it wrong. It wasn't that she did everything like you're supposed to do everything. You don't want them to be like everything, you know. Yeah. I appreciate that vowel. The vowel that bothered me was that she went everything. And like, I didn't even accept that from Patty, and certainly not from some blonde in her, like, you know, 30s or whatever. But, you know, like, you have to really be like an old fishwife to pull off distorting that vowel. Right. So that really threw it for me. And then the other thing that I really tried to give my heart to, because everyone else did. I mean, people were talking about a revival of A Little Night Music, you know. And I was like, I just have to go and take the journey with Donna, you know? And I will say that while I still hold to my aesthetic complaints about what she did style-wise with the song, that her acting performance is as good as Judi Dench's. I mean, she absolutely goes so deep into that song. I mean, and I realized I was judging Dinah's performance of it in the wrong context. I was thinking about it along the lines of like, you know, we talked about like the Bernadettes and the Chips who were like, this is my statement of life. And Sondheim, the like philosopher. It wasn't that. It was much more like, this is my musical theater assignment of a piece of a play. And she gave us a piece of the play. Yes. So I do give her that.
I did really like Donna's, and like we said on the podcast, that third kind of act of the night started with Donna, and then it just kind of Donna, the Ladies Who Lunch trio, Jake and Anna Lee Ashford, those all were highlights for me. And then of course, closing it out with Patty and Bernadette for the grand finale. I mean, that final stretch was just so epic. And I think a lot of those videos, like I said on the pod, will be played in gay bars and on Fire Island at musical Sunday show tunes for years to come. So
forever. Wrong show.
Anyway, but yeah, that was pretty special. And although someone who does not like it, what did Patty say and Watch What Happens? She said, I'm
tired of these.
I'm kind of sick of all of it.
Well, but you know what? I was too until this brilliant thing, you know?
But I wonder if Patty's had something to do with the Sondheim thing, because that she had just done that. So that was
but I don't think she watched it.
Well, no, but just her experience of like having to like do it and like.
She might have recorded this before that. I think this was 100%. She doesn't want to watch people in their kitchen singing songs. She's over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to be fair, I mean, this was never for fucking Patty. I mean, you know, like Patty would rather stay at home than go to Carnegie Hall and see the greatest Broadway stars salute Sondheim.
Yes.
You know, she's not we talk about the people in musical theater that are like the like fans who also happen to be stars.
Yeah.
Or the stars who are just sort of like, okay, I have the talent, so I'll do this career, but it's not what I like want to watch. I feel like Patty is like so deep in that camp, like possibly in a third category, you know?
Yeah, totally. It's so funny because oh fuck, what was I gonna say? Something about Patty. Oh, did you see the video that Kelly O'Hara, I think, posted on her Instagram of like the Zoom green room of all of them, and Sondheim was like giving his remarks or whatever
when he said it was Patty's birthday too?
Yes,
that was so sweet.
So sweet. He was like, you know, it's Patty's birthday too, And then seeing that and then watching her and Watch What Happens, Andy asks her about what's your current relationship with Sondheim like? And she says, right now it's really sweet or something like that. Yeah. And she said, whenever they were doing Company, she and Marianne were the only ones who Sondheim really knew. So, she was like his connection to that cast and that production. And I don't know. I just like the idea of kind of Sondheim and Patty, like as they grow older and as their careers, they collaborate more and more together. They really kind of, put aside any old beef and just do the work.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, what else? Well,
I have another Sondheim person I want to insult, but she was not part of the Broadway.com Take Me to the World celebration.
Okay, go on.
Well, for a long time, I have thought that I was a fan of the singer who's actually an American actress and singer, but who's very big in Germany, named Helen Schneider. She sort of became really famous to Broadway fans in the 90s when she starred in the German production of Sunset Boulevard. Okay. And there's a recording of that. And she has a lot of fans. As a matter of fact, somebody was posting on Twitter the other day that that's their favorite recording of Sunset Boulevard. And I, of course, I don't know what I was going to say. My dance card's full. That's not really true. I guess I couldn't quite get into it at the time. But what I was really into was she has an album of Kurt Weill songs called A Walk on the Weill Side. And is that what it's called? Yeah. And it's fabulous. And especially she sings this mashup of September Song and Mon Ami, My Friend, which I never knew that song until.
Do you have like a German accent?
No, she's this like American Jewish girl who for some reason like mostly had her career in Germany.
Oh, that's so fascinating.
Yeah. But I think she started off sort of like in the like Laurie Beachman world in the early 80s, late 70s. Yeah. She was singing with a rock band. Maybe the rock band is even how she got to Germany. I don't know too much about the story, but I love her Kurt Weill album and her recording of Mon Ami, My Friend and September Song. I live for it. I mean, if I had to make like a CD, if I had to do one of my playlists, but instead of like 3,000 songs, my eyebrows are so bushy, it's really distracting me. If I had to do a playlist of like, but I could only have like 10 songs to live on for the rest of my life, like I would very seriously consider Helen Schneider's pairing of Mon Ami, My Friend and September Song. I love it. I love the way she belts. It really exemplifies the word gutsy, and it's so perfect for Kurt Weill because, she's just like funny. It's just like so like raw. So all these years I've just considered myself to love her. And I eventually got some of her other albums. And like, I remember I was really psyched because she sings Right as the Rain, which I love that on Barbara's second album.
Gerald Arlen, yeah.
But the Helen Schneider one, I couldn't really get into it. I was like, maybe it's the arrangement. At no point was I like, she isn't good. I was just like, people have weird albums, especially from the 90s, especially from Europe, the whole thing. So anyway, there was like, I was just been in my deep Sondheim binge. There's this like different, she has all these different Sondheim things around the time of his 75th birthday, which I guess was like 2005 ish. And so there's a bunch of video stuff of that. And or also his 70th, all around that time. And there's a bunch, but there's one, I just started watching stuff of her and it's so terrible. She's so awful and so crazy and weird that I feel like someone like Natalie Walker needs to do like a recreation of like Helen Schneider. And there's one that you just have to watch where she sings Stay With Me.
Come Into the Woods.
Come Into the Woods, which at first I was like, I love that she's doing this like in concert. Like she's literally like in the middle of like
out of context.
Here's to us who's like us, damn few. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's like so like Liza, but not Liza, but it's so like schmaltzy showbiz.
And then it's
like do 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 do, and like the Chiron is like Stay With Me. And she's like, don't you know, and I'm like, I'm so here for this, but it's so bad. I'm not so good with music to be able to tell you, but I'm pretty sure she's like real flat.
Yeah.
And but also the words are like all wrong. I'm like, is she doing some weird like English translation of a German translation of the lyrics?
Yeah.
You know? But like there's one time she's like, you know, if I were a rich or a wolf, I'm getting it wrong, but like she definitely at one point says something about like, if I were a rich.
Maybe she was just singing a little If I Were a Rich Man instead.
It's so weird. It's like, but it's not even a word. If I were a rich, it's so bizarre. You have to watch it. It's so crazy.
I'm so into that. Like, it's like, who was that opera singer who Meryl Streep played who was like so bad? Henderson.
That Judy Kay did in the Broadway thing, Souvenir.
Yeah, Florence Foster Wallace.
Yeah,
no,
Florence Foster Jenkins.
David Foster Wallace. Yeah, that's who that reminds me of. Like someone who was so horrible but still had like a career.
Speaking of people that have careers that some people think are not horrible, but just since I'm really throwing everybody under the bus today,
might as well. I'm
not really going to go off on her. But I'm really curious what your feelings are about Judy Kay.
You know, I don't really know much about her. I mean, I know, didn't she die last year?
No, she's alive.
Wait, who died last year that I mix her up with? Judy. Is there another Judy who died last year?
I mean, surely.
I don't know. Anyway, well, tell me. I don't really think I know who Judy Kay is then.
Well, she won a Tony for playing Carlotta in Phantom, and she won a Tony for Nice Work If You Can Get It in like the supporting character. But she, like her big, she was Rizzo in like one of the first national tours of Greece, she became a star when she was Madeline Kahn's understudy and on the 20th Century. And then Madeline, famously like left early, and then Judy was supposedly much better. I think I've always resented her for that too.
Yeah, I knew you had some sort of beef with her.
Yeah.
You know, I just looked her up. It's not who I was thinking of. She's much younger. I mean, Kay Ballard, maybe that's who I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah. Well, honestly, my problem with Judy Kay is like that I feel like she gets plumped up a little bit, like she's like some kind of like a Patti LuPone type.
Yeah.
And she's much more like a Kay Ballard type. Like this is sort of misogynist maybe, but like I don't know. I mean, Patty's not like necessarily like a straight man's idea of like sexy, but like I find her like glamorous, I find her satisfyingly glamorous for like a Broadway star. This is not quite
glamorous.
But with Judy Kay, I don't. And I don't mind her playing like the sort of like neighbor lady roles or whatever, you know, like Mrs. Mullins in like, is that her name? Like in, Carousel or whatever, you know? Or she could be the other one. Like, I mean, I wish she, like, to me, she's the ideal, like, she's got that like peanut buttery kind of opera-y voice. Yeah. So I want her to be like the old lady in Candide. I want her to be, what's her name? La Lume in Kismet.
Yeah.
Baghdad, exactly where I don't want Patty. I don't want Patty in there being like, Baghdad, I want like that, like real, but I don't want Judy Kay and Gypsy. I don't want her in Annie Get Your Gun. God help me. I don't want her in, I really want her outside of like what I really consider like the like diva belter repertoire.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. She came up because people are always talking about her. That Sondheim, evening.
Edie McClurg. That's
Broadway.
It's pretty funny.
Well, I think Edie McClurg is more special, to be honest.
I love Edie McClurg.
I don't know. I'm not sure why I'm taking this moment to go off on Judy Kay, but no, because I was actually really curious. I've sort of started to accept that part of the Judy Kay thing is my stuff.
Well, just started to accept that.
But I really want to know what you think about her. Oh, well, my other beef with Judy
that'll
Kay,
be my assignment, and then I'll come back to you.
Everybody should read Eddie Shapiro's book, Nothing Like a Dame. Crazy dishy interviews with all these huge Broadway stars, including Patty and like Cheetah.
The Lilius White chapter is crazy.
Well, the Judy Kay chapter is pretty crazy. And she talks about how Patty was like not that like generous with her because Judy was Patty's vacation cover when Patty left the Broadway revival of Sweeney Todd to go do Gypsy at Ravinia, Judy Kay did it for a month or whatever. And then Judy later did the national tour. You know, and that bugged me too. I don't mind Judy Kay being Mrs. Lovett at the Paper Mill Playhouse with George Hearn, you know? But in this Broadway revival that was all about Patty being sexy and like a whole new take on Mrs. Lovett, it shouldn't have been Judy Kay. It should have been Donna. You know what I'm saying?
This feels like I'm your therapist and we're like really working through your Judy Kay issues right now. And it's like you have all the answers. You just need to do the exploration and you'll come to the conclusions yourself, you know?
Well, I didn't like the way Judy sort of complained about Patty. You know, I didn't mind her complaining because if there's anyone that you have a right to be honest and complain about, it's Patty, because God knows she all beef Patty, you know. But her complaint was like that Patty wasn't like, sure, you know, use my tuba. That's like my tuba. That Patty was like proprietary about the tuba. But I support Patty and her being like, no, Judy Kay can have a different tuba. You know,
yeah, I mean, that's just,
I think Judy should have respected that too. There's a little bit more like star, like, you know, I don't think Judy gets it.
Okay. Well, if Judy doesn't get it, then, well, so something else Patty said in that same vein was, I loved whenever one of the call-in guests or whatever said, did you think Joanna Gleason deserved the Tony over you? And Patty said, no.
But she owned that, I felt. You know,
it was great. But
I would say to Patty's face, there were two possibilities that would have been acceptable. One was Joanna winning and Patty losing, or one was them tying, and I wish they had tied. But I mean, you know, it's true Joanna Gleason had material that gave her half the battle, whereas Patty did something so completely original and unexpected with an old role that had become the terrain of like the Kay Ballards and the Judy Kays, you know? But time has proven that Joanna Gleason's work left a shadow on that part that no one has ever been able to, you know, outgrow, and was the heart of that show in such a profound way, you know. And the more the years go by, I only love and admire Joanna's performance more than I did before. And I would say that to Patty's face. And I feel like the way that Patty laughed at herself answering that question, you know, she was a little more like, no, of course I think I should have won. Not like, no, Joanna didn't, you know, it wasn't like, it was a supporting role. You know, she didn't have any sort of like bullshit acts about it.
Right, for sure. I also loved whenever they went through all the gypsies, and you know, she had to rank them or whatever, and she was like, I didn't see any of them. And then
it's fair.
But then she was like, I think I did see Betts, you know, years ago. But Andy, yeah, I mean,
how did I miss that?
Well, because he was like, you haven't seen any of them or whatever, and he was like, you didn't even see, or he said that he brought up the bet thing again. She's like, you know, I think I probably did years ago.
Yeah.
But Andy's so crafty though, because Ethel Merman, Bette Midler, Bernadette Peters, she was supposed to rank her Mama Roses in order. And she said, well, I didn't see any of them, and one because I was pissed off or whatever. And
how did I miss that?
Did you not see this part?
I did see it. I don't remember that answer at all. I just remember it being like, I didn't see any of them.
No, and she said in one because I was pissed off, and he was like, oh, Andy's so crafty. He was like, oh, you were pissed off because Bet was offered the TV movie, not you. And she was like, no. And she told the whole story about going to Joe Allen's with Sam Mendes and him.
Wait, I can't believe I missed this whole story.
Yes. It's on the YouTube. But and then, you know, next thing she knew, Bernadette was doing it at like the National or some other.
It's supposed to be in London first.
Yeah. And so she was like, and then, you know, Sam wrote her a very, what did she say? Like a very, she said, she used the word cold, which I love. She was like, it was a very cold letter. It was a very cold something. And Bernadette, Arthur Lawrence, you know, wanted Bernadette. So that's why that happened. But
I am 1,000% here for Patty's scores to settle with other actresses.
Yeah.
I am so over her scores to settle with directors and producers.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's part of what's lovable about her is that she's just all beef patty.
Yeah.
It's not calculated. She is not, Natalie Walker at the drama desk nominees luncheon, glad handing and kissing babies, Patty will fucking burn every bridge. She will cut off her nose to spite her face because it just all comes from pure passion,
That's right.
But I do wish that she would have been like, he wrote you a note, Patty. Sam Mendes is somebody that you definitely want to work with. Just suck it up.
Well,
you mentioned that it was, 19 years ago or whatever.
And eventually, Arthur Lawrence, may he rest in peace. Eventually she did, rebuild that.
Yeah, but don't you wish she had done a real production, with a real lamb when she was still in her early 50s with a real director, I know everybody wants to harsh on Sam Mendes, but Sam Mendes' production got muddled because Arthur came in and hated it and gave him a million notes.
Oh.
I don't think he would have gotten so many notes from Arthur if he'd had Patty.
Right.
No.
All right. Well, we have to, I love that Patty's just the last word you're going to speak in this thing.
Oh, no, she ain't.
All right. Thank you guys for watching and listen to our podcast about the Sondheim Celebration. And we'll see you on Thursday.
Bernadette.
Judy K.
Tuesday, Thursday, April, August.
Time heals everything. It's a song. And time heals everything.